looks like now.
Okay, all right.
Share that with you.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call over August 20th, 2020 Board of Supervisors meeting to order. And Mr. Bourne, would you give us invocation, please?
Yeah, I'll be glad to. Let's go to the Father. Lord, again, thank you for this time that we can come together. You're such a good God, a gracious God, and a loving God, and we know you control all things. And Father, we thank you for this beautiful weather you've given us. We do lift our children up in the communities. We know this virtual is a different situation. We just missed that one-on-one, and we know it's hard for those teachers and educators, Father, and we lift them up to you. We know that we're trying to keep our 6-foot distance, but in a way, we're 100 miles apart right now. So, Father, we just ask for your love here tonight, and we ask for your presence and mostly your wisdom. And we thank you for Jesus, and who died on the cross for us for our salvation. And through him we come to you. And God's people said, amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Would you stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, I'm gonna make an adjustment to the agenda, and I want to move the hearing about the statute to the top of the list, because it seems like most of the people here have concerns about the statute. So that's gonna be done before we go on. Mr. Rowe?
Have the animal shelter responses for the RFP or RFQ,
Okay,
and I'd like to do that in my section at the end.
okay,
And the FOIA request, that PM, is that
yes,
right? Mr. John Rose has asked that there be a report on the personnel, of the personnel committee. And a time to discuss procedural questions. And then the vision of the county moving forward.
okay.
You know,
Is that all, John?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right, last month when we met, we talked about, the removal or not removal of the statue in front of the courthouse. And we had quite a few citizens speaking for moving it and some for not moving it. So, during that meeting, I did not assign a committee, and Supervisor Rourke had said something about assigning another committee. I thought about it after I left, and I didn't assign a new committee, which is my privilege as being the chair. I can assign a new committee, or I can assign it to a committee that's already established. So I assigned it to the courthouse committee, since they are the ones that take care of the things on the courthouse, for the courthouse grounds. And on that committee is Steve Bowen and Ms. Lynn Shackleton. So they were the ones that had to go out and get the information and bring it back to the board in order for us to find out a cost of removing the statue and whatever other things that they had to look into. That was left up to them. But they would just assign that task. And so if they have a report on that, I would appreciate it.
Okay, Madam Chair, so let me make sure I'm hearing you right here now. So do you want to hear what we recommend at this point as well, as far as, okay.
Yes.
All right. Well, anyway, first of all, thank you, Madam Chair, for giving us the opportunity to serve on this committee, myself and Lynn Shackleton. And I appreciate all the comments that came from the community, especially in an open forum. I love that, and I know we got a lot of calls. I'm sure, raise your hand, board, if you got calls at home. Is that fair enough? Okay. So we all experienced that, and that's what we're here for. We met twice. Most of it was to be educated. An example, I didn't know that. I thought it was Pickett on that was a statue of Pickett, and it was not. It's an unknown soldier and that type of thing. It's supposed to represent a soldier who's worn, torn, and ready to come home. And so we contacted the Historical Society as well. And I was fortunate enough in 2012 to join the Nottoway Leadership Program that we had here that was sponsored by the Blackstone Chamber of Commerce. And in that curriculum, there was a long session that was a very educational session from Larry Williamson, who is a member of the Historical Society. And so yesterday we met with him, and before, when we get down to where the rubber meets the road, it was one thing that the Historical Society brought up. I thought it was very interesting because I know this came up some of the speakers. There is no African American name out there. Okay, that's a problem. Okay, and so he said whether you tear it down or whether you relocate it or it stays, something needs to be done about that. Okay, either you move to another location, we got some missing history there. Okay, and that's the way the Historical Society feels about it. I think the bottom line is the way they feel about it: don't tear down history. Let's build history and make history, and that's their goal there. One person I like to really thank is Sherman Vaughn. We were about ready to put this thing to a vote, and Sherman said something that was very profound. Sherman, you said, "I didn't come here to vote. I came here to listen." And I think that's where people are missing the boat these days. They're not sitting down and listening to each other. And so right now, let's forget about how you feel right now. Here's the problem. Some people feel like it's injustice to leave it up there. Some people feel like it's injustice to take it down. And that is a judicial problem. But here's the board, this is what we all have in common. And I want to read, because I think sometimes we forget about it. You got to go back to how we were sworn in. We all were sworn in together. And let me read the words to that. I, Steve Bowen, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Virginia, and I will faithfully and impartially discharge all the duties incumbent upon me as a Board of Supervisors member for the County of Nottoway for the term of office concerning January 1st, 2020 and expiring December 31st, 2023, according to the best of my ability. And I think the two key words there is impartially and faithfully. That's what we all sworn together. And can we impartially fix injustice? No, I don't think we can. But we can petition the courts for a referendum and let the people vote on it and then faithfully follow what they recommend. And so therefore, I put that in a motion. I make a motion that we put this into a referendum and let the voters vote for it. And I feel like that we should faithfully, but I can't put that part in the motion. I understand that, but because once the referendum, you put it up there, we still can vote any way we want to. But that's up to us. But I feel like faithfully we should follow what our constituents ask us to do. That's what we're here for, and that would be in the best of our ability. So I got that in a motion, Madam Chair, if that's okay.
Did you also find out the price for the removal?
We estimated close to $20,000 in that neighborhood. Right now, no local area people will give us a price.
And it was some information that was put out in the community about Mr. Rourke already contracting someone which was on the radio on Thursday, and a lot of people was up in the air over that. But my purpose of doing the radio announcements was to get out the information to the people in the community. You say you want to be transparent. That's being transparent, telling you what the Board of Supervisors are doing. At first, it started off with the COVID virus. And then, as the COVID virus has died down, we're putting more information out there so that the public will know. It wasn't a secret. Nothing like that, but I wanted to discuss it tonight at this meeting, at the open meeting, so that everybody would know what was said, so nobody would get it mixed up with all the other stuff that is out here. And we had some people that was arguing about they wanted a copy, and they wanted this, and they wanted that. It wasn't because I didn't want to give a copy. It was because those were my words. Can't nobody else explain to somebody else what I meant. You can think you know what I'm thinking, but you don't know what I'm thinking. So that's why I didn't want that out in the public until tonight, and I wanted to discuss it with all of the board members here, because we don't have secrets. We don't have secret meetings like some people think that we do. There are no secret meetings. We have committee meetings. I don't know when they all are because I'm not on the committees. We have, Ms. Shackleton and I are on the CARES committee. We meet. I mean, but you are invited to it. You can come to the county administrator's office and come to it, but we don't know when we're gonna meet sometimes until a day or so before because of our work schedule. We have to work around how we work. And we're not trying to hurt anybody's feelings. And if you wanna know something, call and ask about it. But, that was the reason for not, wanting it out in the community. Because there was some false information put on Facebook about Mr. Rourke, hiring someone from Amelia, a company from Amelia, and the company was named, which that's slander, because it was not true. And the company had been hired for $10,000, and they were bringing a crane in here. I think it was supposed to have been last Friday. And they were also bringing a trailer in to move the statue. All of that's false. This board had not, you heard the report. We just received the report from the committee that was in charge of that. Now, it's nowhere in the world we could have voted without you all knowing that we would have had to have a public hearing first before we did that. And we couldn't do that. So he doesn't have, he works at the pleasure of the board. He does not work, he is not, what he's told is what comes from the board members, not from him. We give him the right to tell him what to do for the county, and he does a good job at it. But I wanted everybody to understand that of the untruths that are out there in the community that are not true. They're not true. And you need to call and ask and find out before something like that is put out. Now, company's name has been put out there on Facebook. Once you put it on Facebook, it's gone. It's out there. And you can't take it back. And if Mr. Rourke chose to, he could file charges because his name was slandered, plus this company could file charges because of that. So that's I'm not gonna go through the whole thing because I know Mr. Colburn, he put part of it in the paper. But it's for the community, it's for the citizens. You want transparency, but now it's such an argument over what I'm saying on the radio that I've stopped. I'm not gonna do them anymore because of people and their opinions about what I'm doing, like I'm doing something wrong. So I'm not doing them anymore. I used to do them on WSVS and Blackstone Bobcat. And I do them twice a week, and it's on my time. It's not on county time. This is on my time. So we have a motion on the floor for a referendum.
Yes, ma'am, Madam Chair.
Madam Chair, if I may, I appreciate the report from the committee here. I just want it to be known that I will stand by, if it goes to a referendum, I will stand by what the voters of District 2 says. If they say keep it, I'll keep it. That will be my vote. If they say move it, I'll say move it. And I'll second
I'll
the
publicly
motion.
say that. I publicly will say that too. You have my word. Whatever District 1 goes with, even if I don't believe in it, I'll vote on it.
And I'll second the motion.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? I do. I oppose.
Well, I opposed to.
And Sherman and I, so it's 2 and 3.
All right. 3-2.
3-2. So it will be in a referendum, which the judge will set a date for that, so we don't know when that will be. It will not be November, because it's too close. So, I don't know, do you have an idea, Mr. Roy?
Ask the county attorney to prepare the petition to the judge.
Okay, press, you do that? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
You're welcome. And I have a suggestion too. I was thinking about the statues and everything, and I remember Mr. Eames was talking about bringing revenue into Nottaway by having a place to go to, like museums and stuff, and learn about your different cultures. So we are now with the Commonwealth Council, and that's one thing that we could ask them if they would help us with a grant to try to open something like that up in the county, in Crew. That would build Crew up and have something for the town. I mean, you could put them in different places, you could put them in the same place, but you could have a part for the Confederate history, you could have a part for the African-American history, you could have a part for the Spanish history, you could have a part for the Indian history. That way it would cover all aspects of Nottaway County, and everybody could learn about each other's culture and how they live and how they were raised and the things that they went through. And then that way it wouldn't be an argument as to everybody is not included. That way they would be included. And that's one of the things that I want to bring up, that we can ask them to help us with getting a grant for the town of Crew. And I see Councilwoman Yates is here. And if
I have already been looking into something like that.
I didn't say, I didn't hear you.
I have already been looking into something like that.
Similar to that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
We met with the, so you know, just a quick report, we met with the CRC yesterday, and about a 2-hour meeting, myself, Mr. Prosize, and the town manager from Crew was there. And so we definitely will put that on there and have a discussion. And they've been, they're working with us now, trying to give us, just so you know, board, give us a price for our comprehensive plan. So they're working that price up now, so.
Okay, well, I just feel that's.
Good idea.
That's a good idea for everybody, so everybody will be included. And you can go to a museum or whatever, you can pay a price, that will bring revenue into to Crew, so we'll have some revenue. And it will also, give people be a few jobs, because you have to have someone to give them tours and stuff when they come in. So, everything is always possible to solve a problem if you just think about it. So, from what I'm hearing, Councilwoman Yates, you are in agreement with doing something like that?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, I am new to council, and I have not had a chance yet to bring that before the council. It is something I want to bring before them, something very similar to what you're saying, and I'm really pleased to hear you say that. I think it is a fantastic idea.
Okay, well, that's what I propose that we do, so we can get that going through the county and to get a grant.
That old
So-
school building will be a good place to start. That old school building.
Yeah, planning places in Nottaway, but if you could get a grant to start working on it, and everybody can be involved, everybody can take part in it, yes,
Can I make one more comment?
yes.
As I've sat and watched, and all of us have watched day after day what's happening in our country right now, and especially as old as I am, it really saddens me to see this. And I have thought about how great it would be if this county could be a leader in this kind of change by doing it through what you just mentioned.
That's what we're trying.
Instead of going with the crowd, let's be leaders, and let's do something for our county that speaks to all people's hearts, not just one or the other.
Right, I agree with you. And that's the way that we all can learn to get along,
You
yes.
need a motion to do that.
Yeah, okay,
I
yeah,
so
you do it? Okay, so Mr. Vaughn made the motion for us to go ahead with that with the council so that we can get that started.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay. All right, let's go to approval of the agenda.
I so move.
Okay,
Second.
second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the minutes,
Madam Chair, I move that we receive and adopt the minutes from May the 7th and July the 16th.
Second.
okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Now, we're gonna go to delegation to the, from the public. And please, it will be 5 minutes. And we agreed upon this when we did our organizational meeting in January. We always ask how many minutes, and it was approved for 5 minutes in January. And if, in some counties, it's only 3 minutes. So we give you a little bit more time here.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
is there another set of minutes we need to approve for May 21st? I've got 3 in mind here. I've got May 7th, May 21, and July 16th.
You have 3, Sherman?
27,
It
How
is
many?
3?
21st,
Yes, sir.
21st?
21st, yes, include that, please.
Okay,
That was
Let's
all
amend-
wrapped up in the motion.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay, we'll just amend it and approve that too.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right. Ms. Ye, did she just step away? Okay, I'll go to the next one. Thomas, did you still want to speak on the statute? Thomas Cruz, 1019 Old Shore Road, Blackstone, Virginia.
Good evening. My name is Thomas Cruz. I'm a lifelong resident of Nottoway County from the 4th District. I came tonight to be prepared to speak against the referendum, and I'd hoped to do so before y'all had voted, so I will have to amend my remarks accordingly. I would have asked you to vote against the referendum, and I do want to thank Chairman Simmons and Supervisor Vaughn for doing so. I hear members of this board say, let the voters speak. But here's the facts. They've already spoken. They spoke last November when they put you in the position that you now hold. They will speak again in District 5 this November. When they spoke, they said they wanted you here in this positionship of leadership to make these decisions. That is how a representative government is supposed to function. You had been asked to relocate a statue. If you cannot make a decision on whether or not to move a hunk of rock without asking voters for permission, then what the hell are you doing here? But let's be honest. This has nothing to do with the opinion of voters. This is a cynical move to use your voters as a shield. That way, no matter which side comes out on top, you can tell whoever is angry about the result, it wasn't me. I didn't make the decision. It was those other citizens over there. It was your neighbor. Do you think that's really in the best interest of Nottoway County, to have people turned against their neighbors over this issue? We know this issue will come down mostly along racial lines. Do you think that's in the best interest of this county? I had hoped your answer to that would have been no, but apparently this board thinks differently. Being a leader requires moral courage. You cannot simply be on the right side of an issue when it's popular. So tonight, we're going to find out who has some moral courage. I'm asking each and every one of you to make it clear, make it plain, and make it public about where you stand on removing this Confederate monument. People on both sides of this issue deserve to know where their elected leaders stand. And if you decide to say nothing, your silence will speak for you. Thank you. I have nothing left to say.
Thank you, Mr. Cruz. Sue, Councilwoman Yates. I'd like to congratulate you on your appointment to the town council.
Excuse me?
Not upon
I didn't hear you.
election.
Huh?
Election.
She was
Her election, I'm sorry. I'd like to congratulate you on your election
Yes, ma'am,
as the
thank you.
town council. You're welcome. All right.
I come before you tonight out of sheer concern and to make clarification regarding the position of county administrator. At last month's meeting, Super Bowen angrily said, Mr. Rourke was hired in 1974. I was 11 years old when he came into this county with dignity, and if I am on this board, he will leave with dignity. This is where I stand. I say everyone hired comes to any job with dignity, and how they leave depends on their job performance.
Mr. Rourke's 47 years of tenure should not be gauged by specific tasks that have been accomplished, that should be gauged by specific tasks that have been accomplished and those that have not. Last month, Mr. Rourke asserted that he has never been criticized by a board, and he is not subject to personal regulations, and he is exempted from personnel issues. He works at the pleasure of the board. I believe all these assertions clearly represent the cumulative attitude of the board and the administrator. These statements clearly show the landscape of our Nottoway County leaders.
I'm sorry. Ms. Yates, Madam Chair, may I interject?
Yes.
Ms. Yates, and I'm sure you'll be allowed to reclaim your time. If I could ask you just real quick, you've been before us on several occasions. What would you like to see the end result be here?
I would like to see Administrator Rourke retired out.
Okay. Do you have anything that you want to present to the Personnel Committee or to the board that would, you think, help that decision?
Mr. Rourke.
Yes, I do.
Mr. Rourke, let her finish her.
I was just going to ask if she's got that. I would like for her to
I
present it
understand,
to the
but let her
Personnel
finish.
Committee
She has 5 minutes,
for
and
that
I don't
review.
like to interrupt those 5 minutes.
Go on, Ms. Yates.
Can I start again? Okay. I believe all these assertions clearly, okay, I did that. Last month, Ms. Simmons and others spent over 20 minutes berating the citizens and defending Mr. Rourke with no restrictions on time. She spent another 5 minutes berating all of us on radio last Thursday. Citizens are granted 5 short minutes a month to express our concerns. I will be quick and concise with a long list of deficiencies that are evident in our county. I point out the following that should raise concern with every citizen. 1, this administration is currently in violation of FOIA. Keeping in mind that Mr. Rourke was sued over a violation 3 years ago, which resulted in a $3,000 fine and mandatory training of the administration. 2, recent FOIA requests have flushed out the fact that county record keeping is deficient. 2 recent FOIA requests for info regarding a salary study resulted in a proposal with 2 missing pages. An invoice sent to me and another citizen stated that these 2 pages did not exist. The 2 missing pages miraculously appeared after one of the citizens hired an attorney to deal with the problem. Nottoway citizens are now paying for a Richmond law firm, Sands Anderson, to represent the administrator due to deficient record keeping. We are currently being sued for $3 million on a different matter. COIA is also out of compliance. Required certificates are not being stored in compliance. Our Emergency Operating Command Center is not in compliance. Additionally, Ms. Simmons, the director, adamantly refuses to obtain the required certifications to be in command of this center. 5, Mr. Rourke does not have a computer in his office, so he uses our assistant administrator as an administrative assistant or a secretary. The problem here is that a secretary's salary isn't reflective of that of an administrator's assistant. 6, some of our supervisors have complained about the amount of time they are having to spend on county issues. 7, our municipal buildings are presently adorned with slippery green algae on pathways and black mold on our buildings. Doorways and windows are decorated with long-standing spider webs, egg sacs, and dirt. The actual administration office has loose railings, chipped paint, mold, and algae adorning it. Mold and water problems throughout the complex have never been properly addressed, causing both PSR and our election office to be moved. 8, we are not ADA compliant because we don't have proper handicapped ramps in all buildings. 9, many electrical outlets are outdated and need to be brought up to code. 10, we have offices that are void of 2 doors for ingress and egress. It would be a horrific day if an active shooter entered these offices and any employee died because there was no way to escape. 11, our telephones are outdated and can't even conference a call. 12, to this list I add, we are the only county in South Central Virginia that has both an administrator, an assistant administrator, and a finance director. Amelia, Prince Edward, Lunenburg, and Dinwiddie County all have only 2 persons filling these 3 positions. I ask why we are paying for 3 upper-level positions when every other county is doing it with 2. Our finance director is both talented and needed, so I wonder which one of the 2 other positions should be done away with.
Okay, Ms. Yates, I think you've had 5 minutes.
No, I
Thank you.
haven't.
Thank you. Yes.
No, I
I
have not.
added more time to you for John.
No,
interrupting you.
no, I have a little bit more to do.
Well, that's it.
There's a lot of deficiencies though, but at Town of Crew, y'all got a lot of deficiencies as well there?
We do, and we're working on them.
All right, good. That's a big list there. Thank you. And by the way, I didn't speak to you in anger. I haven't ever got angry at you yet.
I didn't say you spoke to me in anger. I said you spoke angrily at that meeting.
No, ma'am.
Perhaps you should rewatch the video.
No, ma'am.
And then which I had already explained to you all about the announcement, and she referred to that too, that I was nasty to the.
So the,
No, ma'am, no, no, ma'am, no, ma'am, no, ma'am, that's it.
Personal point of
That's
privilege.
it. No, ma'am.
No, she
That's for the board
doesn't get that
members.
privilege.
That's
She's
for
got to
the
be a
board.
part of the body.
Yes.
That's right. She's not part of this
She's
body, she's
not
part
a
of crew
board
body.
member. That's
Okay.
right.
No, I'm not. I'm here as a citizen.
No, ma'am.
No, you can't do that. No, ma'am.
You can't do it.
No, ma'am.
That's it.
Personal point of privilege.
No,
No, ma'am.
ma'am. You're not part of the body.
You can't do it.
Can't do it.
I'm a citizen of this community.
Let's go on to the next one. Miss Allen, Sarah Allen.
Good evening. Thank y'all for all the work that y'all have previously done on the statute. A lot of the research, well, the community arguments that I've seen so far is they've come from different places, and one of the main arguments I hear right now is, why now? How come the statute's been up for 127 years and y'all didn't say nothing now? I mean, y'all didn't say anything to now. Well, guess what? We didn't have a voice back then, and we have a voice now. In 1857, Dred Scott case, government ruled that black slaves were property no matter where they went. We didn't have a voice. In 1861, Civil War and Emancipation, we didn't have a voice. 1882, 49 heinous records. They only documented a few of terror lynches in the U.S. 1884, 51 black Americans lynched, the ones that they kept records of. We didn't have a voice. 1883, the courts declared the Civil Rights Act of 1875 was unconstitutional. The 14th Amendment said the states could not discriminate, but citizens could discriminate. We didn't have a voice. In 1886, 74 more black Americans were lynched. Those were only the ones that made the newspaper. In 1889, 94 black Americans were lynched, the ones that made the newspapers. We still didn't have a voice. We were getting slaughtered. In 1889, out of those 94, two of them in previous years happened in Nottoway County. 1893, that statue was erected. We didn't have a voice. I don't think any of us voted for that statue. Any of my relatives voted for that statue. In fact, the people who have relatives on that statue, I challenge you to go find their name on that statue. 1896, separate but equal came into play. We didn't have a voice, but that statue was up there. In 1955, Brown versus the Board of Education, they had to go to court to integrate the school system because white people didn't want to go to school with black children. We didn't have a voice. The statue was there, though. Also, 1954, Brown versus Board of Education. 1955, 14-year-old Emmett Till was beaten and drowned for allegations of flirting with a white woman, which were later recanted. Didn't have a voice, did he? Statue was there. 1963, Martin Luther King was killed for having a dream and a voice. Statue remains. It is your job as elected officials to speak for those who don't have voices, whose voices have been drowned out. A referendum is a cop-out. It's a hiding place for supervisors who are afraid to take a stand for citizens in their district who are not the majority. You have turned this into a political moment instead of a progressive moment by being afraid, by being scared, by being openly supportive of people who are not white. You don't want to be blamed for anything. You're so afraid to lose your seat that you can't do your job. You can't do your job because you're afraid to lose your seat, but you're going to lose it anyway. Because all of this has brought up a whole generation of voters. All we ask you to do is be the voice for everybody, not be afraid. Did you think this was an easy job? Shoot, it's hard standing up here. I know your job is hard, but you knew it wasn't going to be easy. You were voted in to be a leader. That's all we ask you to do. Nothing more, nothing less.
Thank you, Ms. Allen. Gregory Robertson.
Good evening, Ms.
Good
Chair.
evening.
evening.
How you
Sorry I
doing?
didn't come with a speech prepared, but just an idea. If the voters choose to remove this statue, as you said, we need to fill a void of history and something that everyone can look forward to. And I got an idea if the voters say no. I'm not going to say his name, but it was a man that came through Nottaway County, I mean. He was born in the mid-18th century on an island in the middle of the Atlantic. His name was Pedro. He was kidnapped by pirates, and those pirates were hired by enemies of his family. He was brought to City Point, Virginia, just dropped off at the dock, 5 years old. All he could say, his name was Pedro Francisco. That's all he could say. He couldn't speak English. And he was a person of color. He was later adopted by Patrick Henry's uncle, lived in Buckingham, and when the Revolutionary War came, he joined the ranks of Virginia, and he served with the Continental Army, and he served with distinction, so much so that George Washington had a sword made for this man. Now, this man was 6'6", in a time when most people were 5'4". He was known as the Hercules of Virginia. George Washington said that without him, they would have lost several crucial battles and possibly the war. At the Battle of Camden, he picked up an 1,100-pound cannon and carried it on his shoulder, took it to safety because he knew his men needed that. The Battle of Guilford Courthouse, he killed 11 British redcoats just with his sword. And in 1781, he stopped at Ward's Tavern on the outside of Crewe, just enjoying taking a break. He was going back to his home in Buckingham because he got wounds at the battle. And British cavalry, known as dragoons, rode up. They were going to steal from him. He told them, steal my belt buckles. Steal my shoe buckles. So he reached down to try to steal Francisco's buckles. He commits to beating them. He killed 1 to 3 people, wounded 9 more, and scared them off. And that's known as Francisco's Fight, and that's a famous little piece of Revolutionary War history. Now, if the monument's taken down, we need something similar to a founding father that inspires liberty and freedom. And then you have Peter Francisco, who was born Pedro Francisco, a minority, a figure in history that could solve the problem of both sides. One side wants history, one side wants change in representation, and that's just kind of split down the middle. Now, the artist in me is somewhat embarrassed. I drew this about an hour before dinner. It's just an idea I had, where it's kind of clean. But it's just an idea, throwing out there. And that's all I got to say.
All right, thank you. So Clarence Hawks.
Good evening,
Good evening.
Madam Chairman, members of the Board of Supervisors. Things moving pretty fast, so I'm going to try to tackle both areas. First, I'd like to commemorate all the women here tonight, especially the women who are elected officials, who are also in some form of leadership positions, or participating in some form of democratic activities. The statue in question in front of our lovely courthouse contradicts any form of democracy. The statue represents a hybrid form of government, whereas a few rich and well-connected white men operated openly as governmental officials who kept Nottaway County and the state of Virginia locked down in racial strife and full-blown disenfranchisement, which included other underhanded activities. The statute provided the symbolic force and reactive actions that prevented women from voting and participating as full citizens in Virginia. You see, a small group of governmental officials felt back in 1920 not to approve the right for women to vote. But righteousness took its course, and women received the right to vote on August 18th, 1920. Congratulations. And I say again, congratulations. In fact, based on my account, we have about 22, maybe 25 or 26 women here tonight. And if they raise their hands, they'll be in the majority. Congratulations. However, the state of Virginia did not approve the 19th Amendment, which gave women the right to vote until 1952. Can you believe that, Mr. Bowen? 32 years later, supporters of the philosophy of the South, quote, the South will rise again, end quote, and the, quote, the war is not over, end quote, finally went on record as supporters of the right, quote, the right to vote for women, end quote, in 1952, 32 years later. My key points are that the statute provided the philosophical groundwork and human impetus for narrow-minded and racist men to strive to prevent women from voting, to prevent black people from voting by instituting the literacy test, poll tax, including threats, lynchings, and bigotry, making bigotry statements, inflammatory languages, and other types of insulting and demeaning activities against black people. It has been said by many of the elderly black people that when they had to read a script to pass the literacy test, the crazy thing about it all that some white men who were examiners could not read the script themselves and could not pronounce the words correctly. You must understand that those white men who colored their power and wrapped themselves around racism kept throwing barriers to voting until the Voting Rights Act of 1965, which also disqualified the use of the literacy test and the poll tax. You see, my friends, the statute must leave the premises of Nottoway Courthouse. Its dark clouds of social, political, and economic stratification, discrimination, social upheaval, and oligarchical governmental behaviors, secret and closed door governmental decisions and maneuvers have no place in our county. The statute that represents everything that is undemocratic, it must be moved immediately. And since you all mentioned the Historical Society, that's biased too, because it's not balanced. There's nothing in there about black history. There's nothing in there about Native American history. In fact, very few people can tell you when the Historical Society can meet or will meet. So, in other words, if you want to do the right thing, do what's right, balance it out. Get information from the members of the community. I have to agree, don't hide behind the shield. Stand up for what is right, because if you don't,
Mr. Hall,
the voters will
your
speak.
time is,
Thank you.
your time is up. Mr. Richard Hawkins.
Good evening, fellow citizens,
Good evening.
Nottoway officials, members of the Board of Supervisors. As Madam Chair indicated, I'm here to speak about the memorial located outside of the courthouse. But first, a few general comments. We're privileged to live in a country where we have the right to come before our elected officials to make county policy and make suggestions and requests to them. Those suggestions and requests can cover a broad range of topics such as changes to a road, putting up a sign, removing a memorial, or even a request to maybe make a change in the way this courtroom is set up. And sometimes things can get very involved in addressing them. When speaking at the July 15th meeting, I referenced the War Memorial located in Sea Park in Blackstone and noted the similarities between it and the War Memorial here. The one in Blackstone has the following inscription: dedicated to all Nottoway County dedicated to all from Nottoway County who have served their country in time of war, but especially as a memorial to those listed below who died as a direct result of hostile actions in these conflicts. And below that is a reference to World Wars I, II, the Korean War, and the Vietnam War with the names of 44 war veterans inscribed. The one here just simply says, erected by the Ladies Memorial Association of Nottoway, July 20, AD 1893, and has the names of 532 Civil War veterans from Nottoway County inscribed in it. The similarity is that both honor war veterans and both are located on public property. There are also other memorials to veterans in the county located on public property, with the most recent one being the wonderful banners with veterans' pictures and their names that are on the utility poles on the main street of Blackstone. The difference between the memorial at Sea Park and the one here is the eras of the wars the veterans fought in. Veterans are special people because of all the sacrifices they make to serve in the military, and war veterans are extra special because of making those same sacrifices, plus the dangers of being involved in armed conflict. So when the subject of removing a memorial that honors war veterans comes up, it's not to be taken lightly. One may have immediate thoughts and feelings about it, but it's necessary to dig deeper to fully grasp what removing a memorial to war veterans means, because there's a lot more involved than just uprooting some concrete and stone. I commend the supervisors for having the committee look into the monument. Had these veterans lived in different eras, some might have been involved in these other wars and be named on the memorial in Sea Park. One has no control over when they are born, and because of the time period they lived in, they served in the Civil War. That wasn't a crime, a sin, or transgression. Politicians and leaders start and direct wars, sometimes with disastrous results, but they don't fight them. The rank and file of the military do, and they are the ones who lose eyes, limbs, suffer emotional injuries, or make the ultimate sacrifice. These veterans answered the call to duty as the other war veterans did, and to remove a memorial to their memory from public property where it has resided for the last 127 years, which served to dishonor them. No doubt the resolution on this issue won't be solved with these 4 or 5 minutes of remarks. Memorial is owned by the county, and it sits on county property. As a result, each citizen owns a small percentage of it. With that being the case, it seems that the best way to resolve this is to give all of these owners the opportunity to vote on it in the referendum, as has been done. Supervisors still have to vote, but they can cast their votes based on knowing the preference of their constituents and reflecting it in their vote. Thank you, and I yield the floor to the next speaker.
Thank you, Ms. Thompson.
Thank you.
William Clark.
Good evening, Madam Chairman and rest of the committee.
Good
here.
evening.
You know, I didn't bring no paper because I don't need it no more. Because this thing done got this Confederate, I ain't call it the devil, because people got family on it, but that is dividing our county. And the reason dividing our county, because when this thing first came up, y'all could have stopped it. You read, Mr. Bowman, I ain't addressing you personally or nothing like that, none of you, but I'm being real with this thing. You read your sworn statement. You didn't sworn for your district. You sworn for Nottoway County, the whole county, man. And look, I'm so tired, I swear to God. I've been running my business for 9 years. I'm so tired of defending Nottoway County not being a racist county. I go to our shows, and I'm talking about white people. So how you live? That's what you mean. And I'm tired of defending. And I'm a businessman. Mr. Rock, you're a businessman. I'm tired of defending. I just had a customer come down just last week and said, I've been following you on Facebook, Mr. Clark. What they doing? I said, what you mean what they doing? That statue need to go. And these white peoples, and I swear to God to all you white folks, just stop and do this one thing for me. Think of my ancestors as well. My family came from slaves in Lunenburg County. We've been here just as longer than some of you all. We got a lot of people coming into the county, not concerned, taking it personal, and I don't try to hurt nobody's feeling. I'm not trying to disrespect you, Mr. Rock. I appreciate your service, sir, because I wouldn't stay here for 17 years. I swear to God, I wouldn't. And Mr. Vaughn, I ain't trying to throw nothing at you, but you said something other day that people said I should resign. But gentlemen and ladies, if y'all can't vote yourself on this thing, you're in the wrong job. You need adios amigo. Your job is to vote. If that's the case, we should have everything we have. Every citizen gonna make every decision. So why are you here, Billy? You know, I told the town council black. So why are you here? I mean, seriously, get a seat up. Let one of them get the seat. Y'all got to make tough decisions, brother. Like Sarah said, it's rough, but you got to do what's good for Nottaway County. And there's no business gonna come in with that thing. The people gonna duck out of here, brother. And if it can't do crew, they're gonna have the same result. It's not gonna be good for crew. I'm telling you, folks, it's a new day. It's a new day, man. And we love each other. And y'all the key to this thing been done right. Y'all got to take control. If you take that thing to a vote, they're going to just linger on. They're going to stop. Because we going to protest. Are we going to give up? No. Okay. And they're not going to give up. But we can stop it all right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 elected officials. Right? Look, I hope my town, I coached a bad softball team. My sister couldn't play worth a poop. But I cut her. I had a cousin couldn't play. I cut her because I was a leader. And when I took that job, like y'all took your job, you got to do what's right for Nottaway County. And I hate to say this, for God forgive me for saying it, we've got a lot of racist people here. Black and white, but we got a lot of racist people, man. We was out there with little kids demonstrating. They giving the kids the finger. And we told all our people, don't say nothing, just hold your sign up, don't talk. Little kids, they give them the finger. Go back to Africa type stuff. And y'all gonna approve that? Because that's what you're gonna do if you let them vote? They're calling you the N-word. I ain't say that now, either. But seriously, y'all gonna let them do that to a little kid? They got so bad, we stopped using the kid. We just put the signs up on easel, let them holler at the easel. But if y'all let your people vote, as you said, and let's be real, we got some sick people in this county. We had a group, and my line came over while I don't know what they riding in a van, got out the van stretching when we went live. I don't know where they come up, and stood there and turned their back to us, tried to edge. We just got in the car and left. Because we're not going to stop, and they not neither. And sooner or later, folks, you keep doing this. Outsiders going to get in this thing. It's going to get ugly. I think we ought to follow the suit of Richmond. Richmond took it down and said, anybody interested in buying it, you can come get it. I respect everybody there because, you know, folks, I guarantee we go dig that, everybody in there is kin to us, white and black. And I saw clocks all up on that statue. Seriously. And Patterson, Smith.
Mr. Clark, your time.
Okay,
is up.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Brown, Audrey Brown?
Good evening. My name is Audrey Brown, and I'm president of the Nottaway NAACP. Thank you for allowing me this opportunity to speak regarding the Confederate monument honoring those who served the Confederate cause from Nottaway County. At the July meeting, the Nottaway branch NAACP and several others requested you relocate the monument from the public courthouse lawn and retire it to a more suitable place for honoring Confederate soldiers. We understand that a committee was assembled for this purpose and has been working to determine the best course of action. We thank you for the work that has been done and would like to encourage you to be the leaders Nottaway needs when making decisions that will impact and direct our now and our future. Also at that meeting, a minister asked, what would Jesus do? And a councilman spoke of a 3-2 vote that may not be favorable because of the council's makeup. So I went to the Bible for understanding and reread the story of the Israelites, the promised land, and consequences of false reporting. We all know the story. 12 leaders were sent to scout the promised land for future of a nation of people. They were asked to be positive in their outlook and to return with samples of produce. 10 of the 12 leaders showed little faith, gave a doom and gloom report about the land, and persuaded the people it was not possible to take the promised land. As a result, the nation suffered until almost an entire generation of men had died. We ask the council not to allow fear to influence their judgment and reporting, and that they provide the positive outlook for Nottoway's now and future. Persons also spoke of their heritage and how proud they were to have relatives' names listed on the monument. Yet only certain Nottoway residents with relatives who served can share this pride and honor. During the Civil War, Nottoway County raised 2 infantry companies under the 18th Virginia Infantry Regiment, Company C, which was the Nottoway Rifle Guard Company commanded by Captain H.T. Owens, and Company G, Nottoway Grays, commanded by Captain R. Connolly, and 1 light artillery company under the 3rd Virginia Cavalry, Company E, Nottoway Light Artillery Troop, commanded by Captain W.C. Jeffries. They all saw extensive service throughout the Eastern Theater, fighting at First Manassas and participating in the campaigns of the Army of Northern Virginia from Williamsburg to Gettysburg. Yet the names of the Nottoway minority soldiers were not honored or memorialized with this monument that was erected to honor those who served the Confederate cause from Nottoway County. Confederate monuments represent the indignities of enslavement, racism through the Jim Crow laws, and a myriad of segregation and oppression methods. Right now, you have the power to make a paradigm shift towards the removal of suppression and racism from Nottoway County. We ask our Nottoway leadership that you do not continue to be persuaded by old customs that perpetuate a one-sided, non-inclusive history of Nottoway County in the Civil War, and that you make a decision that increases the pride that can be shared by all Nottoway County residents. The Civil War is argumentatively a significant event from which the Southern efforts never fully recovered militarily or psychologically. If we are to recognize, honor, and memorialize those from our Nottoway County who served, we must be inclusive of all who served and not just promote a selective few. We hope that the council will conclude that the monument supports a period of racism and oppression and does not properly represent all who served the Confederate cause from Nottoway County, and should be removed from public property and relocated to a place more appropriate for Confederate monuments. Thank you.
Thank you. Darrell Garber.
I find it ironic that Mr. Bowen opened his speech with how they took an oath to be faithful when all of you were unfaithful to your oath last month. I stood outside with over 16 citizens that were denied entry to a public meeting in the state of Virginia. That's called a secret meeting. I stood out there, people were turned out, told they could not come into this meeting. They left. I was out there, I saw it. That's wrong, ladies and gentlemen. If you're going to play this coronavirus game, it's incumbent on you to provide a venue that accommodates the people. I spoke last week briefly, but I was so furious I couldn't see straight. There is a law in the Code of Virginia. You violated it. You need to familiarize yourself with it. It has legal penalties. I will seek them the next time I'm denied entrance to a public meeting. So don't tell me about faithful to oath. I'd like to talk about a symbol. Can anybody tell me what was in the heart of the men and women that put that monument up out there? I seen an article the other day that said that these flowery shirts are the symbol of the Boogaloo Boys, a right-wing extremist anti-government group. I'm wearing one. I'm not a Boogaloo boy. I wear it because I thought it looked pretty cool. Maybe it was my feminine side, I don't know. But I just said, hey, I like that shirt, I'm gonna wear it. It's But somebody's gonna point a finger at me and say, you're a right-wing extremist boogaloo boy. Now, for those of you who were failed by the public school system and ripped off by your college, this flag is called a Gadsden flag. Even before the United States existed, the Continental Congress authorized the Navy and Marine Corps to wear this flag. I'm a Navy veteran. I wear it because of the honor of all those who wore the uniform before me. I've even also read that they said this is a symbol of right-wing hate groups. Well, I don't care if Antifa, Black Lives Matter, or anybody wants to carry this flag. I wear this flag for my reasons, and nobody will ever take this flag down. You need to think about, everybody's saying, oh, wow, we know why this monument was put up. How do you know the hearts of a man? The scripture says nobody can read the heart of a man. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Mr. Garvin. Ashley Davis.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I just want to give some insight to everybody, no matter what your race is. I have a grandmother who's almost 90 years old. So she's went through not being able to vote. She's witnessed being able to eventually vote. She can even recant days where she missed almost 2 years of school because some of her best friends were white and their parents didn't want them to sit beside each other in school. Neighbors made clothes for each other. Back in that time, my grandmother's mother would bake a cake or a pie to get Miss Emma Farrell to make her a dress in Burkeville, Virginia. A lot of people don't know that. That's not even 60 years ago. So all of that, it don't stand for hate and, well, this is why you have your own meaning, but the original meaning of that statue was to remind African Americans who were just recently freed to not speak up. My grandmother was raised to not speak up because when they got home, her father could lose his job. They would get beat so bad just because somebody could say they stole something and it was there, and instead of apologizing, they would get beat. So I'm not taking that we're standing up here and complaining for no reason. It's been talked about for years. Some of y'all are standing up here trying to tell us how we should feel, how we should think, how we should act. We've been beyond professional. I've even gotten with them very people sitting over there and held unity events because we're not seeing color, we're seeing equality. So if it's too much to be equal to one another, then instead of telling me move or go back to Africa like I've been receiving, because ever since I've been in the paper, my house, they throw trash in my yard because I live by the highway. I have people riding around with Confederate trucks revving around. I have a 4-month-old because that's their way of saying, shut up. They don't want me to speak. I have so many people, I can fill this courtroom 6 times that want to stand out here and tell you a million reasons why that statue should come down. It's not rocket science. It's not too much to understand how offensive it is. As simple as that. I'm not here to offend nobody, but I'm here searching for one thing. I want to be equal to her sitting right there. I want to be equal to him sitting right there. Still in 2020, I'm still asking for that, and we're not getting it. And I don't understand why people associate Black Lives Matter with hate. We're not hating no one. We're just bringing recognition to say we matter too. So I'm speaking on that. I don't know what news station is reporting whatever they want to report to you. I've been out in Richmond, and them protesters haven't been burning stuff down that's for Black Lives Matter. It's the people disguised like us that are coming out there burning stuff down and destroying property. Why would Black Lives Matter destroy black owners' property that they work so hard for? So I'm just here to speak for equality, not black against white, orange against blue, red against yellow. That's not why I'm here. We're all here to see the same thing, equality. It's so simple. We don't want the statue destroyed. We want it relocated. I'm going to say it. So many people would be mad if Martin Luther King would be outside. Simple as that. it would be a monstrosity. It would be flags, flames, and hell burning all through Nottaway County if it was. It shouldn't be like that. I have white grandfathers, white aunts and uncles, but standing up here, you wouldn't believe that, would you? My great-grandfather is white. Staring at me, you wouldn't believe that.
Thank you, Ms. Davis. Valerie Benderworth?
So I'm a third-generation American. My great-grandparents immigrated to the United States from the Netherlands after the devastation of World War I in search of a better life. I'm very proud of my Dutch heritage. I love to eat vetbollen for breakfast, to cheer for Dutch soccer and speed skaters, to wear orange, and to be visited not just by Santa Claus at Christmas, but Sinterklaas on St. Nicholas Day. I know what it is to be proud of my heritage and to honor my ancestors. I strive to pass my family's Dutch traditions on to my children. But I also know what it is to be ashamed of my heritage and my ancestors. The Dutch, after all, didn't invent slavery, but they sure made a whole lot of money off of it. I strive to teach my children the good and the bad about their Dutch heritage. And that's where the courthouse statue comes in, because I feel like I can see both sides. I understand the need and the want to memorialize one's ancestors and to see the honor in them, but this cannot be done in a vacuum. The passage of time does not cleanse the actions or the souls of the dead and turn them into perfect beings. The names on that statue belong to real people who fought in a war. The bravery it takes to go into battle is not at issue here. But what were they fighting for? States' rights? Slavery? Truth so often is found in the middle, not to the left or the right. It was both, and that makes things murky. One can point left or point right and turn their head and refuse to see the other side. Like I said before, I feel like I can see both sides, and what do I see? When I look at that statue, I see arrogance. For the losing side of a war to honor their dead, I have nothing against. But to take that statue and place it not in a cemetery or on private property, but public land, in front of a courthouse, in front of the seat of government, it's as if the leaders at the time were saying, we may have lost the war, but we're still in power. It's the definition of arrogance, pride of failure, and the inability to change with the course of history. The statue serves two purposes. One is to honor the dead. The other is to honor what they fought for. Context is important, and the context of this statue is its visibility, its place of honor. Its purpose is to be a reminder of our country's soldiers and what those soldiers fought for, states' rights, and inherent to that, the right of states to continue the practice of slavery. Supervisor Bowen talked about injustice if we leave it and injustice if we remove it, and to do a referendum. I, like the first speaker, had hoped that you would wait to vote on that till after my speech, but anyways. I say let's think about the message of the statue instead. Messaging is determined by leadership. You are our elected leaders. So I ask you, members of the board, do we still believe slavery was worth fighting for? I think we can all agree it was worth fighting against. And that's why I'm against the statue being in its present location. The time has come for you to be the leaders we elected, to change your messaging by removing the statue. Thank you.
Thank you. Charles Vaughn.
First of all, I appreciate the civility of this board. Thank you very much. You're not holding meetings in secret like some counties are doing, so I appreciate that. My belief on the Civil War has always been that the Union had their reasons for fighting it, and it wasn't all about deleting slavery. The Confederacy had their reasons for fighting it, and oftentimes it was for keeping slavery. But God also had his reasons, and God's reason was slavery was wrong. And so 630,000 men died because neither side would listen to God. And both sides thought they were listening to God. And they all prayed. They said, God, you're on our side. You're on our side. Help us win. It took a bloody war. I'm afraid that bloody war is wanting to rear its head again in our country. The statue removal epidemic started with Black Lives Matter organization, not black people necessarily, but the organization, which is Marxist in its root. This is Marxism versus Christianity, and it's what's going on. The message behind the movement is hate all Confederate soldiers. This is class warfare, what Marxism does. Demean the losing side, the Confederacy, which is neutralizing your opponent. Reduce the state power and increase the federal power, which leads to a totalitarian regime and total intolerance for any other view. No other views are allowed. Removing the statues will create vengeance. We got the last word. It leads to more oppression because vengeance never stops at getting the first payment. It always exacts another payment and another payment and another payment, and soon re-slavery occurs just with the other side. They who deny history are doomed to repeat it, and that's what's getting ready to happen. We're going down that road. When you're threatened, if you don't, that's history repeating itself. It also, the statue will create anger. The Confederacy advocates and those descendants will be angry about that, which is all nothing more than racial tension. Keeping the statues will create anger because slaves had an awful abuse. Slaves were terribly abused. I'm not proud of it at all. It's horrible. They were murdered. A whole many hundreds of years of that occurred. They were shamed. They were belittled. We should not be proud of any of that. Many had courage to stand in the face of terrible opposition, and they had the strength to endure. They do deserve recognition. Respect. If we keep the statues, others will respect it because they think of the strength of the soldiers. They think of the authority of the military and what that looks like, and the sacrifice of many in battle. For when you fight in a battle, you're not fighting for a cause, you're fighting for your buddy next to you to stay alive, either side. There's also arrogance. You keep the statue, there are those white supremacists who will be very arrogant, and they will still lord it over others who are not the same color. And then there's irrelevance. To many people, this is irrelevant. We have our lives to live, we have our families, we have our loved ones, our jobs. It's irrelevant. Therefore, what you've decided to do, I think, is the best idea. Put it to a vote for the citizenry. And in the meantime, everybody gets to go to the papers and put your thoughts in and let everybody make a decision. But I have a better idea, a much better idea. Transformation of lives versus transportation of stones. We need to fear God first. When God is feared, good is revered. We need Jesus. When Jesus rules the heart, hatred will depart. Our inner cities need help. When Jesus is raised, lives are saved. Hundreds are dying in cities where the rioting has occurred. Instead of exhausting time, money, and emotion on the statues of the dead, why not spend time, money, and emotion reaching and saving lives of young inner city people like Chicago, where folks are being killed by the hundreds every day? Would that thousands of loving Christian witnesses would replace thousands of hating rioters. We need Jesus in our hearts, making a change, getting rid of the hatred. I wish I could say more. Wish we loved each other, but I see hatred here tonight on both sides. There's a lot of anger. Perhaps we need to have a big prayer meeting and pray, God, help us. Amen?
Amen.
Hey, thanks. Appreciate
Thank you. G. Allen Queen.
Changing subjects. The first duty of government is to afford protection to its citizens. Illinois Representative John Farnsworth, 1867. Emergency management is an important function of local government to ensure the safety of its citizens if and when a major hazard or disaster occurs. According to FEMA, emergency management protects communities by coordinating and integrating all activities necessary to build, sustain, improve the capability to mitigate against, prepare for, respond to, recover from threatened or actual natural disasters, acts of terrorism, or other man-made disasters. I believe the Board of Supervisors chairperson is the Nottoway County Emergency Manager, and the County Administrator is the Emergency Coordinator. FEMA lists 8 principles of emergency management. The 8th principle is listed as professional. It is described as emergency managers value a science and knowledge-based approach based on education, training, experience, ethical practice, public stewardship, and continuous improvement. I will speak to these qualities listed by FEMA. 1, knowledge-based approach based on education and training. FEMA's website, training.fema.gov, has a section of independent online study courses that are available free of charge. Some of these courses are Intro to Incident Command System, Emergency Planning, Intro to NIMS, Fundamentals of Emergency Management, Effective Communication. I also communicated with VDEM asking about the availability of their training to non-state employees. They sent me a form for registering non-state employees who can go on there and train on the Virginia Learning Center website. I also have contact information for A.T. Hamilton, the Virginia Learning Center administrator. With all this available and free online training, there should be no reason whatsoever for an emergency manager to go without some form of training in emergency management. That leads me to the ideal of public stewardship. Merriam-Webster says stewardship is the conducting, supervising, or managing of something, especially the careful and responsible management of something entrusted to someone's care. Being a steward has also been described as someone who develops themselves and their organizations, and being an effective steward is about reputation and trust gained. A true leader leads from the front by example. The public, our citizens, expect our leaders to lead by example and be good stewards of our community, its resources, and of the trust we put into our leaders. The third point that I bring up is the concept of continuous improvement. I would hope that all of us strive to continually improve ourselves daily. Part of continuous improvement is continuing to learn as much as we can so we can be the best that we can be, the best versions of ourselves for ourselves and for those who count on us. It also stands to reason that this includes improving working conditions for county employees, i.e. remediating mold, adding ADA ramps to facilities, ensuring secondary exit options in case of fire, and improving the functionality of the Emergency Operations Center so that it can be beyond reproach when it is needed in an emergency situation. It is beyond my understanding as to why someone would refuse taking the time to train to improve themselves and their abilities to take care of those that count on them. In this case, those counting on you are the citizens of Nottoway County. Elected officials and government employees are public servants. The citizens are not at the beck and call of public servants. Our government is of the people, by the people, and for the people. So I urge you to keep this in mind when serving our community and do what's right, not what's easy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Queen, and I'm going to address you on that. I didn't choose to be chair this year. It just fell that way. We have not been required to have any training or anything. It's the rotation of the chairs. Now, it could have been Mr. Vaughn, could have been Mr. Bowen, could have been Ms. Shackleton, could have been Mr. Rourke. I didn't choose that job, but I've been criticized for something that I shouldn't be criticized for. Ms. Councilwoman Yates said that I needed training. There's nothing in there that says that I have to have training for that.
First
personal point of privilege. No, ma'am, you don't have personal Miss Yates? Miss Yates?
Personal point of
Miss
privilege.
Yates? Miss Yates?
Personal point of
Miss
privilege.
Yates? You're gonna have to sit down.
Personal point of
You're gonna have to sit down. Thank you. And like I said, I didn't choose that, and I sure didn't choose a pandemic coming to Nottaway or anywhere else. It just happened that way. I don't mind being criticized, not at all. But I'm not gonna be criticized by someone that doesn't know what we've done for years. If somebody told me I needed the training, I would have done the training. That's no problem with me. I have no problem with that. But I'm not going to take someone saying because of the chair and her training. I wasn't required to have training. And if I was, I would have been told and I would have done so.
I didn't say anything about requirements.
Miss, sir, you've already said what you had to say, and you've already pointed to me.
The only one that has a voice here is you.
Miss Yates? So now we'll go on to the next thing. Public hearings.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I have received some citizen questions and comments concerning the county administrator salary data that I reported at the July board meeting. And it was suggested that in the interest of transparency, I should respond to the questions at a public meeting. May I do so now?
Yes, sure you may.
The information I provided at the July board meeting was based on a report recently published by the Virginia Association of Counties, or VACO. It was a report of actual salaries of county administrators in 95 Virginia counties. I first learned of the VACO salary data in a personnel committee meeting attended by members of the personnel committee, Supervisor John Rourke and myself, the county administrator, the assistant county administrator, and the finance director. At this meeting, the county administrator provided copies of the VACO report to Supervisor Rourke and to me. It's my understanding that he subsequently provided copies of the report to all supervisors. During the personnel committee, there was a discussion and general agreement that because the county administrator's salary had been an ongoing topic of discussion and concern, and because salary data from a 2018 compensation study had been presented by citizens as a comparison to Mr. Rourke's salary, it would be relevant, reasonable, and fair to also present the additional data now available from the VACO report. I've been asked why I did not use, for salary comparison purposes, the same counties that were used in the 2018 compensation study commissioned by the county, as there is a wide variance between that study data and the counties that I was deemed to have handpicked from the VACO report. The 95 counties in the VACO report included a number of larger urban counties that obviously are not relevant salary comparisons for Nottaway County. Therefore, to improve the relevance, I developed and reported average salary and tenure data for county administrators using 3 peer group comparisons, all derived from VACO. 23 counties that comprise Central Virginia, 35 counties with populations less than 20,000, and finally 3 Central Virginia counties with less than a 2,000 population variance from Nottaway County. So this went beyond my simply hand-picking 3 counties for comparison purposes. My report of the information and my remark that Mr. Rourke's salary is in line with the peer group salary data from VACO were simply a presentation of fact. I did not introduce information from the 2018 compensation study because I was not attempting to refute that information or to make a comparison to it. Nor was I attempting to defend or criticize anyone. I simply presented factual data and a factual statement about Mr. Rourke's salary in relation to the data. It was suggested to me that in order to make an apples-to-apples comparison of the Nottaway County Administrator's salary To that of administrators of other counties, I must also compare the financial status of the average citizen in Nottoway to that of citizens in the counties that were used for comparison. I was asked to publicly provide median income and poverty rates for each county used in my report, along with the same information for counties used in the 2018 study. I'm not presenting that information because the presentation of only these two economic indicators is meaningless. If you want an accurate and objective look at the county administrator's salary in relation to the economic health of the county, you need to look at a complete peer analysis that contains an assessment of a number of economic indicators, including but not limited to the median income and poverty rates that were requested, but also unemployment rates, tax rates, a stress test that reveals the county's reserves in relation to its ability to service its liabilities. That's just to name a few of the indicators that should be considered. The reality is that in a peer group analysis, Nottoway County's performance in some of these areas will be higher than peer group and in some areas lower than peer. But beyond that, a truly objective judgment about whether the county administrator's salary is at an appropriate level requires more than simply an assessment of the economic health of the county. Job performance factors and tenure are considerations. And how about job duties? The top county administration roles in Nottoway are the county administrator, the assistant county administrator, and the finance director. From a website review, it appears that all but one of our adjoining counties employ more people in county administration than Nottoway. For example, Brunswick County. For their website, they have a county administrator, an assistant county administrator, a finance director, a director of economic development services coordinator, financial services manager, human resources coordinator, planning director, a planner, solid waste recycling coordinator. An understanding of comparative job duties calls for further analysis, but it's another important aspect of salary considerations. Though I was asked to provide a response to questions at this public meeting for the sake of transparency, an opposing concern was communicated to me that I am choosing to respond in public in order to silence citizens and control the narrative. I'm not sure I understand how presenting information at a public meeting equates to silencing citizens. I have a great deal of faith in the intelligence of Nottoway County residents and their ability to absorb information and form their own opinions. I do my best to deal with facts, and I don't feel the need to create, much less control, a narrative in an attempt to defend anyone, to criticize anyone, or to influence the opinions of others. And finally, I respect the rights of all citizens to question information and to question the motives of their board members. So I appreciate citizen input and in this opportunity to provide a response. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. Anyone else? Anything else? Okay. All right. Yes.
We've advertised for a public hearing tonight, the increase of the tipping
Well, wait a
fees
minute.
for the landfill and.
Hold on, Mr. Roy. We have Mr. Dr. Austin, Melvin Austin, that haven't spoken
Okay, I'm
yet.
sorry, I don't want to get in front of him, for goodness sake.
Dr. Austin.
I think I may have been a little bit blindsided. I was not told about my time restraint tonight. But Madam Chair, Mr. Vaughn, Ms. Shackleton, Mr. Rourke, and Mr. Bowen, my name is Melvin Austin. I'm here to give my perspective on Confederate monuments such as the Gray's statue, Confederate flags on public property. I grew up in Blackstone during the Jim Crow era of the 1950s. My roots in Blackstone County go deep. On my mother's father's side, my great-grandfather, Pollard Shelton, was born into slavery at Rover's Rest Plantation on Stinger Lane Road. On my mother's side, my great-grandmother, Maria Tucker, was the daughter of the slave cook and the slave master. My great-grandfather, Pollard Shelton, and his father-in-law, Sib Jones, founded Mount Gazarene Baptist Church on Route 40, which is now called Kimbridge Road. I'm here tonight to express my view of Confederate statues and symbols on public, tax-owned government property. I dropped out of college and joined the Army in 1964. In 1966, I married a beautiful girl named Carol, who was from Bloomsburg, Pennsylvania. Our marriage was against the law in Virginia at that time. The Supreme Court had not yet ruled in the Caroline County case of Lovin versus Virginia. Interracial marriages were illegal. Carol was blonde and blue-eyed. She became the mother of my 4 children. In 1966, I left my Green Beret Special Forces A-Team at Fort Bragg, North Carolina, because I was selected for the Army's helicopter flight school. 9 months later, on 1 August 1967, I graduated from flight school at Fort Rucker, Alabama. 22 days later, I made my port call at Oakland Army Terminal in Oakland, California. My original orders assigned me to a unit in the Flat Delta region of southern Vietnam. The enemy there was Viet Cong, but because of heavy losses in the north, I was diverted to the Central Highlands, which had tall trees and rough terrain. The enemy there were North Vietnamese regular Army soldiers. They were waiting for us in places like the Ashaw Valley, Dak To, and Way Phu Bai. I was assigned to Delta Troop 1st of the 10th Cavalry at Pleiku. The original soldiers of the 10th Cav were called Buffalo Soldiers by Native Americans as Europeans pushed west after the Civil War. They didn't have a horse for me to ride, they had a helicopter for me to fly. On one of my early missions in Vietnam, I flew into a fire support base that was part of the 4th Infantry Division west of Pleiku. I was bewildered and sickened by what I saw. There were Confederate flags flying on U.S. Army tanks and APCs. The sight changed my body chemistry and gave me emotions that I really can't describe. When I got back to my hooch that night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about how awful it would be for a young 18-year-old black soldier from Blackstone or Crew or Cambridge to be assigned to a unit that was flying Confederate flags. I'm still appalled by the sight of Confederate flags and statues on public property. Contrary to what we were taught in textbooks in Virginia public schools from the late 1950s until the late 1970s, slavery was evil, cruel, and inhumane. There were rapes, as the story of my great-great-grandmother attests. There were stories of whippings that were orally passed down in my family. There were mutilations, even castrations. The great scientist, Dr. George Washington Carver, was supposedly castrated. After President Truman desegregated the armed forces on July 26, 1948, Virginia state leaders issued those textbooks to public schools that were used from the late 1950s to the late 1970s.
Dr. Oss, I hate to interrupt you, but it is 5 minutes.
My time's up. Okay. I was blindsided. I thought I had more time. I've even cut out some of my presentation. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
I believe that statues belong in museums, and I think that since we have the option of going to museums, we have to come to our courthouse. And we shouldn't be intimidated, belittled, because we have to come to take care of business that we have no choice about. This courthouse belongs to all of us, and we're 40% of the population of Nottaway County.
Yes, sir.
Do the right thing.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
I apologize for that.
That's all right.
Dr. Austin, I thought she nodded at me to get it.
No.
Okay. We advertised for a public hearing to consider the increase in tipping fees at our landfill. The garbage and trash fee now is, the current rate is $37 a ton. We're proposing $42 a ton. The container rental now is $1 per day, and we're proposing $10 a day. Tires now $150 a ton, and we're proposing $200 a ton. Sludge is $54 a ton. We're proposing $104 a ton. Now, large container now is $117 to pick up plus $37 a ton. We're proposing $150 per pickup with $42 a ton. Small containers and miscellaneous use is $35 per pickup and $37 a ton. We're proposing $75 per pickup at $42 a ton. Large container. And so full-time user, we're proposing at the current is $98 a ton and $37 per, $98 per pickup and $37 a ton and $20 per month lease fee. We're proposing $98 per pickup and $42 a ton and $35 per month lease fee. And small containers are $35 a pickup now and $37 a ton and $20 a month lease fee. We're proposing $75 per pickup, $42 a ton, $35 a month. We hope these increases would maybe get us to even in revenue and expenses.
Okay. We have a public hearing on the budget amendment, increased landfill fees. Is there anyone here to speak for? Is there anyone here to speak against?
It's not a for or against, I just had a question if that's okay.
Yes.
So these increases is because the landfill is running in the red? Is that what he said?
Yes, we had more expense than we had income last year. Yes.
More expense than income. Did you hear that? Okay.
The reason I was asking is because I'm the solid waste manager, recycling manager at Fort Pickett.
Mm-hmm.
And so we directly work with the landfill on those costs. So I was just curious.
Okay.
How it's gonna affect my program, so.
Okay. All right. All right, anyone else? All right, the public hearing is closed. So what's the pleasure of the board?
Madam Chair, I move that we receive and adopt the fees.
Budget adjustment increase landfill fees?
Yes.
Okay. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any
No.
opposed? You oppose it, John?
ma'am.
Okay.
I thought we
All
were going to go to discussion on it, I'm sorry.
Oh,
right. Well, we can.
we can change.
We can change it. Go on.
Okay, my position on this was simply this. I understand that it may not cover the cost. I'd like to see maybe us take under consideration maybe doing a waste management study. That would also encompass everything with waste management, recycling, the possibly even privatizing the landfill because we can control the amount of tonnage that would come into there. So, since there's no certainty that this is going to take us out of the red, I just didn't want to put the additional burden on the taxpayers in Nottaway County.
Okay, anyone else?
We were trying to bring our fees in line, and we were behind. We weren't charging nearly as much as we should have been, so that's what we'll bring them up to standards.
And yes, sir, I understand that, and I believe at a previous meeting, a citizen had put that question to us too, that will this eliminate, and without the certainty, I personally wouldn't feel comfortable putting the additional cost on the citizens without a study.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
May I just interject at this point? I have had a couple of constituents in District 5 come to me about the possibility of county recycling program. And I'm not sure about the waste management study, but since you mentioned that that would be part of it, at some point, I think it would behoove the county to consider the possibility of recycling. And I'm just interjecting that at this point. But.
Okay. Okay. So we have a motion on the floor, and Steve,
well,
you have anything?
No, well, we've already voted for the increase. I agree with Mr. Vaughn. I think and I see what Mr. Rourke over there is saying. I think we need to go ahead and make the increase because we're completely not in line where we should be. A lot of these fees have been there since, I don't know, 70s, 80s, Mr. Rourke, that's probably, but I'm willing to, maybe we can, I know we always probably have another work session. I mean, I'm willing to, talk about that in a work session and what's the pros and cons on it, but I don't think we could, I like for us to move forward with this, with these increases in labor.
Supervisor Rock, is that okay? We do it in a work session?
Yes,
We'll
ma'am.
talk about it in the next work session we have? Okay. All right. So it was a 4-1 vote on that. Public hearing, Fitzgerald Family Cemetery.
I assume that's in effect immediately.
Yes.
Okay. We have advertised for a public hearing for the request from Constance L. Fitzgerald. And she would like to request to establish a family cemetery on property located off Road 630 and Amazon Road in Blendon District. The property is zoned C1 conservation and is listed to Constance S. Fitzgerald. This is made pursuant to 3143 of the Nottaway County zoning ordinance, which is uses permitted by special exception. This was advertised in both papers as required, and the Planning Commission did hold a hearing on it Tuesday evening.
Okay. What did the Planning Commission?
Recommended.
The public hearing is open for Fitzgerald Family Cemetery. Is there anyone here to speak for? Anyone here to speak against? Okay, the public hearing is closed. Any questions from the board members?
Madam, that's in your district,
Yes, it is.
so I move that we approve.
All right. May I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Okay, it has been approved for the Fitzgerald Family Cemetery. Okay, public hearing, budget amendment, school system, CARES fund.
This is a budget amendment required by the amount of funds that wanted adjustment for from the school board. We talked about it last month. The revenue is from the CARES Act revenue for $691,127.77, and the expenses are for instruction and supplies in that amount. The revenue from Nottaway Middle School Improvement Grant, and that's $72,356.96. The expenses, salaries, and purchase service and supplies for that amount. Revenue, VPSA Backpack Initiative, $73,600. Technology hardware is expense in that one. And for the GoTech new grant, which $137,467, and the expenses, material and supplies for that one. We've advertised as required in both papers.
All right. The budget amendment additional funds for coronavirus relief fund, I'm sorry. Public hearing for the budget amendment school system CARES fund is open. Is there anyone here to speak for? Anyone here to speak against? The public hearing is closed. Any other board members have anything to say?
I'll make a motion, we go ahead and if the board's okay with it, make a motion, we go ahead and approve this budget amendment for the school system CARES fund, which is much needed.
Second.
Second?
sorry.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
We have got notification that we will be getting another check from the CARES fund, and this will be $1,328,933. And this will be the second installment. I believe you're going to have a report from the committee that's working on the first installment in a few minutes. This is a public hearing, and we have completed the survey that's required for receiving the amount of money, and we only have to sign the agreement to receive the additional $1,328,000.
Okay. Budget amendment, additional funds for coronavirus relief fund. The hearing is open. Is there anyone here for? Speaking for? Anyone here against? The public hearing is closed. Do you have any comments from the board members?
Madam Chair, just a comment so I can make sure the board's aware of it. During the Commonwealth Regional Council meeting, one item that they are working on for some more funding is personal protective equipment for children. Children's masks, which they fit different, you know, and a lot of people cannot afford those masks, and you know how children are, and you know, people don't think it's not really needed right now because it's virtual, but they got to go back to school sometime, and I can see that wearing a mask could be normalcy, you know. We don't know that yet, but I just want y'all to bring up to speed on that, and I'll make a motion, we go ahead and approve this.
I'll second that motion.
Okay.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. And since we're on the CARES Relief Fund Act, Lynn, you want to do the report or you want me to do it?
You can go ahead.
Okay. Federal CARES Relief Fund Committee report. We have received reimbursement requests from the county's emergency services agencies. We will be funding each of those. We have received funding requests from the town of Blackstone also. Just a point of clarification, each of the 3 towns has been allocated their own pot of money from the county's original allocation. Equitable distribution methods were used to establish those amounts as required in the CARES Fund guidelines. We have received small business applications from a total of 30 businesses so far. We have worked our way through approving funding for a number of them already and continue to work through the others. They are being processed as quickly as possible, as we are being careful to utilize the funding according to the provided guidelines. The date the committee has approved funding, to date, the committee have approved funding for $402,412.10. We anticipate disbursements will be made next week for the already approved. We appreciate everyone's participation and encourage other small businesses to do so while funds are available. Applications can be picked up in the county administrator's office. You can also call the office at 434-645-8696 if you need additional information. So any board members have any questions on that?
No, ma'am.
Okay, all right, thank you. All right, Mr. Roy.
I think the DDOT is allowing them to work right now, and you had in your package the information concerning the proposed roundabout on Darville's Road, and then the traffic counting is going to be done by a traffic group. And then I have a card that they're asking for permission to go on the county's property for the roundabout at Darville's Road. And the board should authorize me to sign that. And also the monthly report, and I had you got a copy of the other one? No. I'll mail it to the other one I got today from.
Okay, so you need permission to, you need a motion for, okay. So moved, okay. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
And, Mr. Rock, for the Highway Department, if you will, one of my constituents on Melody Lane had asked about a traffic count on that road, but I think they're doing it. For Melody Lane, All right, you can go on.
You have a request from the school board that's asking us to decrease the small purchase order to increase the small purchase order from $500 to $1,000. That would allow them to buy item $1,000 or less without a purchase order.
Okay, you heard the request from the school board, request to increase small purchase allowance from $500 to $1,000.
Madam Chair, I'm just asking the staff, is this enough? I mean, you know, with procurement regulations, it could be a paperwork nightmare for everything have to come through us. You know, like the state, they went from $5,000, $4,999 to $9,000 because you can't buy much for $4,000 anymore. I can't even put a. Yeah, I know, but is that enough? Should we go up a little bit more? I mean, it's a playing game. I understand it. Okay, all right. Well, that, I mean, that's why I wanted to hear from the staff what they thinking on that, so.
Okay.
I'll put that in motion, go ahead and prove it if no
I'll
man.
second that motion.
Okay.
Okay.
And I'll talk to you after the meeting.
Okay.
All in favor?
Well,
Any opposed? All right, thank you.
You got the school board report in your package, I hope. And it's you got the minutes of the meeting, and then they have budget adjustment for 21st Century Community Learning Center grant, $167,650. Another grant in the same amount, and 21st Century Community Center Learning Grant for $174,550.
Okay. We have a motion to approve that.
That's a move.
Okay, may I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Okay, economic development,
We will not, the committee will not meet this
okay.
It's.
I thought we had
yeah,
one
yeah,
planned.
we have a meeting.
We had one,
26th.
Yeah, we moved it.
26th.
yeah, we have it planned, the 26th, okay.
For a special meeting.
I just so the general public know, would that go, will we go in closed session for that one?
Yes. Go in closed session.
Just want the public to to realize that.
Okay. Emmitsburg Regional Jail,
You have the report in your package. The landfill report, you have a leachate report, the monthly report, and we are taking in 57.52 tons a day. You have the gas monitoring report and the groundwater monitoring report in your package. Planning Commission met. No, you've already made the coronavirus. Okay, and the statute you've done?
Yeah,
Again, your planning commission, somewhere we got that, they met and talked about the Constant Fitzgerald application. They also talked about signs, and they appointed a study committee to look into that.
what you said for signs?
Yeah.
They got a report.
Yeah, it's a little
Okay.
bit, I'll tell you. So, we had a businessman who is in the business of agritourism. And, our signs that allowed, that we allow in the county is, is below, let's call it a sheet of plywood. Sheet of plywood is 8x4, something like that, 32 square feet. I think ours, in our zoning ordinance is what, half of that, Mr. Price? Right, so, right, he's trying to get business, but the sign's not big enough.
We had that, yeah, we talked
Right,
about
right,
that.
so we're looking, we're forming a committee, and Mr. Perry, our chairman of the planning commission, is heading that up, and anyways, to see if we can make that change. So just kind of want y'all to be aware of it, you know.
Okay.
Okay. Madam Chair.
Yes.
When Mr. Rourke was given the landfill report, I received quite a few calls about that, so I decided to talk about it tonight.
Okay.
I recently read with interest in the Blackstone paper about the idea of selling our landfill operation to a private company. This is not a new idea. Supervisors have had discussions about it multiple times in the past. Each time the idea was not seen as being in the best interest of Nottaway County citizens. I don't believe our Nottaway County landfill is hemorrhaging. We have made changes that do represent more expenses, such as opening the convenience centers and the purchase of new landfill equipment. The convenience centers have, by all accounts, been a success and have done what the citizens of this county wanted and asked us to do, to have a clean, safe place to dispose of household trash. The landfill equipment that we recently purchased is just a cost of doing business. Everyone knows that equipment wears out, and when it does, it must be replaced. If we sell to a private company, as the article suggests, who would want to buy our landfill? If we put all sorts of restrictions on them, and we would have to put them on there. Do you think that company would want to limit their volume and their profitability? Where would this trash come from? I'm gonna stop right there because I want you all to remember some years ago when Amelia went private on their landfill, the trains from New York not only carried trash, but they carried rats. And these rats ran all over Crew.
Yeah, they did.
The rats were as large as cats. You all get my message. All right. Do you think the private company will have the best interests of Nottoway County citizens at their heart of their owners? I don't like to mention other counties, but I think you need to go and ask some of the folks over in Amelia and Cumberland, Charles City, and some of the others where they have private landfills. From what I've heard, neither of those private operations have worked out the way that some people thought they would. At this time of tight revenues, I am against spending money for a study to privatize our county landfill. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yes.
Madam Chair, I'd like to.
I was here during the beginning of, and it has worked well for the 3 towns, and it has worked well for the county.
Madam Chair, I think one thing I'd like to suggest, I call it, let's chew on it a little bit, Mr. Vaughn. Not that subject. I think one thing that Mr. Rourke and the Assistant County Administrator and all the Board of Supervisors staff in the office there, what they're kind of up against. Steve Bourne has priorities, District 1. You have priorities in your district, so on. I suggest, and I had this conversation with Mr. John Rourke, Supervisor there, and actually he's the one really, come up with it, and I think it's a good idea. Why don't we think about, writing down what our 5 top priorities are? We don't even have to share it with you, just shoot them an email and let them look at it, and then, because there's no way these folks in the office is going to deal with all these FOIA requests and get things done and meet our priorities. We come up and go, well, Mr. Prosires, have you done such and such with us? Well, he hadn't got to it yet. I mean, it's a time issue. It's a management issue. So could we?
They're getting a lot of.
Yeah, but what I'm trying to figure out is, let's see, what do we want to work on in the next year? The top 3 priorities. Well, let's just, it's a thought. I mean, just anyway. So we can start making some kind of progress instead of them trying to herd cats. I mean, that's kind of what they're going through. What is the top priority? And kind of the VACO did that. VACO, because all different counties have top priorities. We finally said, look, give you your top 3, and then they would go to legislation for us with that. And that's kind of the same principle. So anyway, I just want to throw that out there.
Do we have a number of time that's?
John, I just wanted you to know, and everyone else to know how I felt about the landfill. I've been a part of that landfill.
Oh, I get it. I get it.
Mr. Rourke, do you get a lot of FOIA requests? Yeah, I mean, I want the public to know, if we're not careful, we bog government down And then you look at us as representatives, well, you're not getting anything done. Well, my goodness, man. If you bog government down, we can't get anything done.
From July 7th through August the 20th, we got 26. And it takes us, we think, 45 minutes to an hour on each one, at least that.
And that's gathering. So a FOIA request is not just asking questions, it's getting documentation, correct?
They are. FOIA request is not to answer questions.
Right.
FOIA are for documents.
Okay. And that takes research. And the citizens have that right. But I want people to know it can bog government down. I mean, it's almost getting to the point you're going to have to hire somebody to take care of public relations. I mean, that's what you...
And you have to charge?
Yeah,
or
right.
We have the right to.
But anyway, I just want to, that's why I feel like we need to come up with our priorities and let John Roy listen to his citizens, you know, not just 3 of them, all of them. Me, same way. I got some citizens that speak louder than others, but yet we still need to figure that out, you know.
We all have that.
Right.
We all have that.
And we used to meet with our citizens.
Right, right.
Yeah.
When we meet, we have these public hearings, and I usually schedule 2 or 3. But we need to go back to that and only deal with the people in our district. Other folks can come in and sit. Like I've never had a public hearing that people from other districts didn't come to mine. Wow. And I normally have about 45 to 50 people at my public hearing. The mayor from Blackstone will tell you that. He's been to one of mine. He's been to a couple of mine.
We will schedule them for anybody that wants.
What you have to do when you have these public hearings, you have to let people know that the county is one form of government and the towns are a different form of government.
Right.
And the school board is a separate entity. And you can't mix it up.
Right.
You can't mix it up. There's no way that I could have a public hearing with the school board.
Right.
Or with one of the towns. It's just no way. Because we have different operations. We operate differently.
Yes, because Steve, you've had them in Burkeville.
Yeah, I have.
Yes.
Right, that's right.
And when Gary was on the board, we did District 2 and 3 together, and we had.
Well, we did too.
We had them.
Well, Clarence and I did it
So
together.
it would have been,
Lynn and I could do
were
it.
doing
Lynn and I
together.
could do it
Yeah.
together.
Right.
But we're talking about the same thing, though. We're not mixing apples and oranges. When you go into the town, then you got the town way of dealing with. They don't deal with the same thing we deal with.
Right.
Towns don't have schools. We don't have water and sewer. It's
Right,
a
and
whole
that's-
man- it's a
that's
big-
why-
it's a big difference between the two.
Yeah, and that's why I was thinking, you know, we get our priorities. I mean, let's give an example.
Yeah.
A priority on District 1 side would be a grocery store. Right now, in your district, you're not worried about a grocery store. You with me? I mean,
would be the same.
yeah,
Yes,
I mean,
sir.
you
Right.
with me?
Yes,
I mean,
sir.
that's just an example.
Yeah.
You know, but anyway.
I think identifying the priorities is a really good idea and helps us to focus on how we want
What
to
we
move
need to do.
forward.
We can
Okay.
Yeah,
schedule
4
a
and 5,
strategy
4
planning
and 5 have always gone
work
together.
session
And 2
anytime you
and
want.
3, we've
Yeah.
done it.
Thank you,
Okay.
thank you, thank you,
Oh,
Madam Chair.
thank you.
Would you like us to schedule a strategy planning work session? to
I think
talk
that would
about
be,
these?
I think that would be good.
Do you need a motion?
Just tell me to do it.
No, I think it's a general census.
Yeah, general census, yes.
Okay.
I think, yes, that would be
All right.
great.
The committee, the architect has furnished us with the final report of the space utilization study, and that's in front of you. All right. And you have a request from Piedmont Senior Resources. They're going to need 2 appointments, one to replace Ms. Simmons, who is rotating off of the board, and one to replace Judge Royal.
Okay, we have to have a supervisor appointment and also a citizen appointment. In the citizen appointment, I would like to appoint Arlene Robertson from 1121 Lewis Cole Road.
So moved.
Okay. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
I thought
And-
we were gonna do both of them together.
And well, I'm gonna appoint,
Okay.
get ready to do that now. And I would like to appoint, John Rourke as the supervisor for, Piedmont Senior Resources serving on our behalf.
So moved.
Okay?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I see Roger back there. Hi, Roger. That's Roger Scott from Amelia. And I served on the board with him and really enjoyed serving with him. Yes. Okay. The reports from the constitutional officers. Jane Brown, not here. Sheriff Jones, you have anything?
No, ma'am, nothing to report.
Okay. Ms. Myatt, she's not here. Christy Hudson, Commissioner of Revenue. Ms. Waldrop, did she leave? Okay, all right. Okay, we're going to the consent calendar.
I move that we receive and adopt it.
Okay. May I have a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Nah.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Informational items. County Administrator, Mr. Roy.
Yes, we had 6, I believe, response to our animal shelter request for proposals, and I need to know whether the board wants to meet as a whole to review those 6 responses, or do you want to appoint us a committee to do that?
For the
Animal shelter.
animal shelter, who's on that committee? Someone's on that committee already.
Can we do it in a work session?
We could.
You know, it's
That'll be
it's a
fine.
pretty important thing.
If, that's fine, we'll do it in work session.
We'll do it at the regular work session.
Work session, Lynn,
Yeah,
that's
for
okay
the-
with
for
you?
this month.
All right, Steve, that's all right?
ma'am.
Okay,
All right.
we'll do it at the work session then.
I reported to you the FOIA request that I'd had a few minutes ago.
Yes.
Building inspector's report's in your package, so is the animal control officer report. We did not have a report from the erosion sedimentation control, but we did have some activity from that committee, in that, but he did some inspections in our county. The Commissioner of Revenue is asking that you give her some guidance on the taxing of solar panels, and she's not talking about solar farms now. She's talking about the panels going on to individual houses. That's what she's up to. And she looked at Dinwiddie County, and they were charging $800 per panel, and that's what she assessed it at. But she had some complaints about that, and so that's why she's asking for your guidance on it.
Do we need to adopt an ordinance on that, or?
No.
So each panel costs $800, not you tax $800.
Panel.
Right, yeah, just
Each
value
panel,
of it.
Yeah, and we have a constituent that has them in Nottaway, and
I thought them things were more expensive than that.
Well, that's what you're taxing. That's what
That's
she's
the
taxing
tax.
the value on, right?
Not the
And that's
panels,
based
that's the
on
tax.
just
That's
what
the
one other
tax on
county
it.
is doing? That's
Oh,
what-
$800.
for Dinwiddie, yeah.
Right.
yeah, and so
We
the
could,
constituent was concerned about what he's paying for.
Can we do this at work session?
I think.
Yeah, I don't
so.
know, that's kind of tough, man. Well, so we tax, we gotta think about this. So we tax, there's a local tax on the Dominion Virginia Power Bill, correct?
Not
landfill.
Not for these.
No, I know, but
yes,
I'm just saying.
Yes,
So this takes the place of electricity, right?
it does, yes, it does.
Yes, it does. Yes, you have a question?
Yeah, so my thinking here, just listening is, it feels to me like this is a little bit of overreach. I know other places do it. But if somebody puts up solar panels, they're getting their energy from the sun, yeah? Now, we have a tax on food. But we don't tax people if they have a garden. So to me, I don't like this idea at all.
That's why we're gonna discuss it.
Well, before we come on new tax, we would have to have a public hearing.
Yeah.
Right.
What, to assess these panels? No.
No, I thought, oh, it's just assess.
Now, there's a law that you can, you can not tax them, that you can exempt them from tax.
Is it looked at as an improvement upon the structure, or?
It's a cost saving.
But it's attached to the structure?
It adds value.
Can be,
No,
or it
these-
can be on the panels.
It's
away
like if
from
you
the
build a
house.
shed behind your house, you add value to your property. Okay.
And see, that's what it is adding value. These are not
I
attached
can't
to
answer
the
that
house.
question.
These are in front of this particular person's house. But it does increase your value.
But the incentive is to go green. Yeah, I mean, that's what they're trying to do.
So I guess we can work, if y'all
I gotta think on that
do
one.
that
She's making a good point.
at a work
Okay.
session?
I got a garden. It makes absolute sense.
Is that what you wanna do?
I got a garden, so.
Is that what you all wanna do? Do it at a work, do this at the work session also? Talk about that? Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Want to do what?
Okay, yes, at the work session.
Okay. Talk about it at the work session, all right.
Wonder if Ms. Hudson would come to it, Mr. Roy. You think she could come?
Yeah, I'll get her to do
Okay,
that.
all
The CSA had audit, and the findings were in your package, and I think they have corrected those findings. The carryover funds from last year, the listing is in your package for your information. It was previously approved when you did the appropriation. We received $11,411.13 refund on our health insurance. Like for you to appropriate the money and authorize us to return it to those on the health insurance policy.
So moved.
Okay,
Second.
all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you.
We have, this is required now, and it's a policy matter for the board, but the COVID-19 infectious disease prevention plan, and we have prepared that, and it's in your package. If you adopt it as a policy, we will distribute it.
So moved.
Okay, all in favor? Second, please, second?
Second.
Second, okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you.
The executive mansion would like for Mr. Bowen to
Where is this thing at?
to do
I don't
a
even know
Christmas
anybody.
tree on
You
it.
got anybody that could do that again? We don't even have,
Well, we did, what, Miss
They're still
Wanda
working.
Carey, Miss Carey, who did it last time, Miss Carey?
A Blackstone did it,
Blackstone did it?
yeah.
Who did it?
I
I
will.
believe Wanda Carey did do it.
Wanda did it one year, Wanda Carey.
Yeah, she's done it.
Okay,
Ann Stenson-
and we didn't have it last year.
No, the year
They
before
didn't
last
ask
year.
us for it last year. So, well, yeah, we'll find someone, one of their art teachers. Since
me to contact?
Blackstone did it last year, let's see if
The last time it was done, Blackstone
we'll
did it.
maybe we'll find someone in crew to do it this time.
I think Mr. Rourke's agenda additions are next, and after that we have
Okay, all right, John, go
All
on
right,
with
well,
what you had.
as far as the procedural questions go, I had a conversation with Mr. Rourke and Madam Chair earlier this week, so
Yes.
after that email was made, and I appreciate y'all getting me some clearance on that. As far as the Personnel Committee, we had some discussions about the RFP that we'll be discussing, I believe, was that next month, is that correct? Yeah, okay, all right, and then, but something I would like to, maybe for the board to consider tonight, is going ahead and approving personnel evaluation starting March 2021. That would be Mr. Rourke and Lynn and myself had met, and Mr. Rourke agreed that March would be a good month for him to do those, and then the board, of course, would do his as well at the end of that. So I'd like to go ahead and make a motion that the board adopt the yearly evaluations to begin in March 2021.
Okay? Y'all have any questions, comments?
I thought we were forming a personnel, what do you call it, y'all?
We've sent out an RFP for a consultant to help us develop personnel policy manual revision.
Okay.
That'll be advertised.
That'll be in the Sunday paper.
Okay,
Sunday paper
but what you're saying, what you're saying is we want to move, just make sure we have it down on the calendar.
Correct.
Right.
RFC's developing a template for the performance evaluations, is that?
I'm not, and I don't even know if this is going to be close to being closed session, but let me say this, okay? Make sure we're not putting the cart before the horse, because if we don't have clear expectations of our county administrator or our assistant county administrator, how do you evaluate them?
How do you set the expectation?
And how you set the expectation? That's why I was kind of waiting for the help from the from the RFP. Yeah, I was hoping that was going to be part of it. You know, am I saying that right?
The proposals are supposed to be in the third week of September. So you'll get the proposals back then to review them, and then you can select whatever consultant you want.
What I'm getting at, Mr. Rourke, John Rourke, what I'm getting at is, I don't want us to vote on something, we say March 2021, and then we don't really have anything in writing to show, how we evaluating this person.
Okay, yeah, I mean, I understand. I just
Right.
know that we had talked, and he had agreed that month would work for him if we were going to begin this.
All right, so
Mr. Bowen, you're exactly right. We need to develop the standards by which we are going to evaluate.
Would you pull your, I'm just asking, Madam Chair, would you
Yes,
pull your motion, knowing, I know what your expectation is. We all know that and I agree with you, March, I agree with you. But I don't want us to vote on something that we can't get there from it. But I think he's in the right, he's got the right clock that we need to follow. I agree on that. Perfect, okay.
Okay,
Yeah, I withdraw the motion.
Okay, thank you.
all right. Is that all you had, Mr. John?
Are we doing anything with the building? We talking about that?
Yeah, we can.
Okay, yes, I know in previous meetings, I know Mr. Bowen mentioned the old registrar's building, and I'd like to just move forward with getting that thing torn down, and show some progress to the citizens. I know that the town of Blackstone, we had talked to them, and but of course, we need to get the testing done to make sure there's no asbestos in there too. I believe Blackstone was willing. I don't know how anybody could possibly beat the cost that they were talking about, but maybe, wink, wink, since we waived some brick, they might help us out with that. So I'd like to make a motion to go ahead and move forward with the asbestos testing and the demolition of that old registrar's building.
Somebody getting a price or something, right?
Yeah, yes.
I'll second that, Madam Chair.
Okay, yeah, we had talked about that before. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. All right, John, is that it?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, that's all you have, okay.
Chair, we have closed session, section 2.23711A3, possible sale of public property, and section 2.23711A5, discussion concerning prospective industry and bid.
So moved.
Okay, second?
No, I'll second.
All
Go
in
close.
favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, we're going to close session.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Long rough start, bro. John, give this to Leanne. That's just the area of view. I want y'all to get a copy of the expansion of VCBR, what it looks like, so y'all know how much it grew. Yeah, one for Lynn too. I think I gave one to.
Yeah, you gave me one. I have one.
my packet.
Give,
I'll take it back. Go with you.
John, I wanted to call you about that landfill. It's not in the red. This is gonna bring us out.
and see, that's what we need, you know, we have to put it in place in order to,
But you don't want somebody else's trash.
no.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, because that's a mess, let me
Let
tell
me
you.
tell you what's going on. Let me tell you what's going on right now. If you're familiar with Petersburg, Petersburg got a road named Pole Dock, and that trash pile is as high as 75 feet in the air.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
we
where it's
don't
going,
want that.
Wait, now you know where it's going? You sit in Blackstone anytime you see it's going to Cambridge.
All them trucks
On the trucks.
that come through.
Thank you for giving me time.
Oh, yeah.
The thing's going through.
Yes.
Yes, yes.
I'm gonna be with you just a while. I gotta take care of it.
Okay, John?
Do what? She works the same thing? Oh, she's my friend. I'm good friends with Andrew when I was there. And Jeff Gallagher's a really good friend of mine.
Yeah, I would tell people that
Andrew Franklin's is a honeymoon over there.
No, they sold the house in Richmond.
I saw that.
He's perpetually at the beach house.
Yeah.
Yes,
How long have you been at St. Andrew?
a little over a year.
Okay. I'll talk to you tomorrow. This is a really long meeting, but now we say. Most of them are an hour, 15 minutes at most.
I'm used to it, it's fine. I was in another one.
So you and Andrew do local government, yeah, Andrew does local government too, doesn't he?
Yes, we're in the same group, that's right.
Do y'all work for Brunswick? Doesn't Brunswick have a, don't they work for Brunswick, I think?
Yes.
Okay. Very good. I would love it, thank you so much. I'm marking out the area. I'm gonna be listening. I'm gonna be there before.
Another evening almost to the end.
Yes. I'm not sure you got 5 minutes.
Almost doesn't count like it counts.
No, it don't, no, it don't.
From my attorney, this is. Not at all. You're gonna hear from attorney.
Well, you shouldn't get cut off.
Have a good evening.
You shouldn't cut you off. That ruined everything.
Who should?
How you doing?
John Fraser.
Shouldn't have cut you off. That's just my opinion. And I would tell him that if he were here right now, he shouldn't have cut you off.
Well, she never said one way or the other whether they were gonna take it away from my time. Nothing happened.
I'm not sure you got the full 5 minutes, but, I mean, good Lord have mercy. I'm gonna tell you right now, this referendum gonna make the Army look like a walk in the park. The Army all of a sudden is peaceful, but this referendum, because here's the thing, it's not gonna be held till February, March.
Yeah.
It's gonna drag, I wish the thing had been over November 3rd.
You know what, though, I have to tell you tonight, as I was listening to everybody talk, I really tried to listen to both sides. And when you're listening to one, you wanna say, yeah, I agree with you, and then you listen to the other, and you wanna go, yeah, I agree with you, and you don't, there's no right in this, there's no right.
do, sir.
Yeah, we appreciate you. Okay, let's, certify. Let's certify,
Madam Chairman, the board went into closed session under sections 2.23711A3 and 223711A5 for the sale, consider the possible sale of public property and the discussion of concerning prospective industry. Mr. Rourke, did you talk about anything else?
No, sir.
Mr. Bowen?
No, sir.
Ms. Simmons?
No.
No.
Certify the closed session.
All right, the board went in closed session and no action was taken. All right, so may I have a motion
So move.
to adjourn?
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We made it.